Morning. Now we'll discuss about requirements for a test tool. So when we create a test tool, what are the basic requirements? Let's see one by one. So the first requirement is no hard coding in the test suite. So in the sense, the variable for the test suite are called configuration variable, right? The file in which all variables names and their associated values are kept is called configuration file. Now, what will happen is, uh, in this configuration file, we should not have hard coding, okay? Uh, the variables belonging to the test tools and the test suites need to be separated so that the user of the test suite need not worry about test tool variables. Changing test tool variables without knowing their purpose may impact the results of the test. So providing inline comment for each of the variables will make the test suites more usable and more readable and may avoid improper usage of variables. Let's see one example. Well-documented configuration file automation should consider those areas where requirements go through lesser or no changes. Normally, change in requirements cause scenarios and new features to be impacted, not the basic functionality of the product. Okay, so no hard coding in the test suite. Second requirement, test case or test suite expandability. Points to consider during expansion are adding a test case should not affect other test cases. Adding a test case should not result in retesting the complete test suite. Adding a new test suite to the framework should not affect existing test suite. So these points we need to consider when we're doing the expandability. Reuse of code for different type of testing or test cases. That is the third requirement. So in that case, points to be considered during reuse of codes are the test should only do what a test is expected to do. The test framework needs to take care of how and the test program need to be modular to encourage reuse of code. Since it is a modular one, a particular module alone we need means we can take it and we can use it later stage, isn't it? So that is the third requirement. And the fourth requirement is automatic setup and cleanup. When test cases expect a particular setup to run the test, it will be very difficult to remember each one of them and do the setup accordingly in the manual method. Hence, each test program should have a setup program that will create the necessary setup before executing the test cases. So the test framework should not have the intelligence to find out what test cases are executed and call the appropriate setup program. So a setup program for one test case may work negatively for another test case. So for each and every test case, we need to create a separate setup program in order to successfully uh, run the automation code. Okay. Then, fifth requirement, independent test cases. Each test case should be executed alone. There should be no dependency between test cases such as test case 2 or any which should be executed after test case 1 like that. Okay, so always we need to create an independent test case. There should not be any interrelation between test cases. Then test case dependency. Making a test case dependent on another one, make it necessary for a particular test case to be executed before or after a dependent test case is selected for execution. So in some cases, we can have a dependency also, like one after another, some prioritization we can keep. Then insulating test cases during execution. So insulating test cases from the environment is an important requirement for the framework or test tool. At the time of test case execution, there should be some events or interrupts or signals in the system that may affect the execution. Okay, then coding standards and directory structure. Coding standards and proper directory structure for a test suite may help the new engineers in understanding the test suite fast and help in maintaining the test suite. Incorporating the coding standards improve probability of the code. Okay, then next point is selective execution of test cases. A test framework contains many test suites. A test suite contain many test program. A test program contain many test cases, right? So the selection of test cases need not be in any order and any combination should be allowed. Allowing test engineers to select test cases reduces the time. These selections are normally done as part of the scenario file. The selection of test cases can be done dynamically just before running the test cases by editing the scenario file. Okay. Then random execution of test cases. Test engineers may sometimes need to select a test case randomly from a list of test cases. Giving a set of test cases and expecting the test tools to select the test case is called random execution of test cases. Okay. Test engineer select a set of test cases from a test tool. Selecting a random test case from the given list is done by the test tool. Okay. Then next requirement is parallel execution of test cases in a multitasking and multiprocessing operating system. It is possible to make several instances of the test and make them run in parallel. Okay, looping the test cases. Reliability testing requires the test cases to be executed in a loop. There are two types of loops that are available, iteration loop and another one is timed loop. So in this iteration loop, give the number of iterations of a particular test case to be executed. Let us take 10, 15, something like that, we need to give number. In case of timed loop, which keep executing the test cases in a loop till the specified time duration is reached, maybe 1 hour, 30 minutes, 15 minutes, 5 minutes, like that, we can fix the time frame. In that time frame, we keep on running it. Okay. Then another requirement is grouping of test scenarios. So grouping of test scenarios, the group scenarios allow the selected test cases to be executed in order or random in a loop all at the same time. All things is possible. The grouping of scenarios allows several tests to be executed in a predetermined combination of scenarios. Okay. 14th requirement, test case execution based on previous results. One of the effective practices is to select the test cases that are not executed and test cases that failed in the past and focus more on them. Some of the common scenarios that require test cases to be executed based on the earlier results are return all test cases which were executed previously. Sorry, rerun. Then resume the test cases from where they were stopped in the previous time. Rerun only failed or not run test cases. Execute all test cases that were executed previously. So we have different scenarios. We can only not yet run test cases we can run, or we need to repeat all the things we can repeat. So we have options like that. Okay. Then remote execution of test cases. That is another one requirement. The central machine that allows test to multiple machines and coordinate the execution and result is called test console or test monitor. In the absence of a test console, not only does executing the results from multiple machines become difficult, collecting the results from all the machines also become difficult. So we can have a centralized monitor to monitor the working of these test cases. Then 16th requirement, automatic archival of test data. The test cases have to be repeated the same way as before with the same scenarios, same configuration variables, values, and so on. This requires that all the related information for the test cases have to be achieved. It includes what configuration variables were used, what scenario was used, what program were executed, and from what path, all kind of stuff. Okay. Then reporting scheme. Every test should sorry every test should need to have a reporting scheme from where meaningful reports can be extracted. As we have seen in the design and architecture of framework, the report generator should have the capacity to look at the results file and generate various reports. Audit logs are very important to analyze the behavior of a test suite and the product. A reporting scheme should include when the framework, scenario, test suite, uh, test program and each test case were started or completed, result of each test case, log messages, category of events and log of events, then audit reports. Okay. Then 18th requirement, independent of languages. A framework or test tool should provide a choice of languages and choice of scripts that are popular in the software development area. A framework should be independent of programming languages and scripts. A framework should provide choice of programming languages, scripts and their combination. A framework or test suite should not post a language or script. A framework or a test suite should work with different test programs written using different languages and scripts. The internal scripts and options used by the framework should allow the developers of a test suite to migrate to a better framework. Okay. Then last requirement, probability to different platforms. See, with the advent of platform independent languages and techniques, there are many products in the market that are supposed to support in multiple OS and language platforms. The framework and its interfaces should be supported on various platforms. Probability to different platforms is a basic requirement for test tool or test suite. The language or script used in the test should be selected carefully so that it runs on different platforms. The language script written for the test suite should not contain platform specific calls. Okay, so these are the 19th requirement for a better test tools. Now, we'll see some challenges in automation. So, test automation presents some very unique challenges. The most important is, challenges is managing environment or management commitment. Automation should not be viewed as a penaka for all problems, nor should it be perceived as a quick fix solution for all the quality problems in a product. The main challenge here is because of the heavy front loading of cost of test automation, um, management starts to look for an early payback. Okay, so that's all about challenges in automation. Thank you.